Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Oh, I see in the Q&A somebody wasn't sure about the time. No worries at all, especially if you're in Germany. That's a bit of a time difference. Well, welcome. If you want to put in where you're from in the chat, we'd love to check out where everybody's joining us from. My name is Katie Boyd. I'm the Clean Program Manager, and Gina Fiorile Duranlo is here with us as well, the Clean Coordinator. And we're going to talk to you about Clean today. You're welcome to use the Q&A feature. You can also just use the chat. We're monitoring that for questions as well. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So if my screens don't go totally blank on me. Oh goodness. Can you still hear me?
Yep. And now it looks like it's showing up.
And you can see my screens now. Cool.
Yep.
My slides. Okay, great. So Clean is a climate education project. We are funded by NOAA to host a collection of educational resources, as well as provide support for educators who want to bring climate and energy topics into their practice. And we'll talk about sort of the big aspects of Clean, which is our collection, that pedagogical and educator support, and then also our community of practice of people who are interested in work in climate education. So we will get into each of those things as we go. First, I'm going to tell you about our collection. So we are syndicated to NOAA's Teaching Climate Portal, and I mentioned that because NOAA is the one who funds us to do this work. In fact, Clean is completely syndicated to NOAA, so we manage their collection of teaching resources. And so everything that you see on Clean daily gets updated to the NOAA Climate Teaching Portal as well. So we manage their resources. We also manage their PD calendar and other support and professional development for NOAA. Which is just nice. Clean has a little bit more flexibility outside of the federal government to do some things, but then we are supported by them and have the backing of NOAA, which is really nice. So one of the biggest things that Clean does is manage our collection of educational resources. This collection is reviewed, so everything in there is of high quality. We have educators and scientists and other just experts in the climate field review each resource, and I'll tell you a bit about the review process in a minute. All of these, we also have resources for informal education as well, but we do target, or we're a little bit more focused on formal education with a lot of our resources, so they are sort of ready to be implemented as is. We curate them through our review process. We make sure that everything is online and freely accessible. And then we do a lot of work on the back end to align it with various standards, frameworks, literacy, the climate literacy principles, as well as the national next generation science standards and other frameworks, education and science frameworks like that. And we also provide a lot of ways to search through our collection, which I'll talk about in a minute as well. And just to mention, I actually realized I need to change this image because they just recently today released new climate literacy principles. So this has been updated. So we are working on updating our tagging to the new literacy principles as well, which is really exciting. So I'll just mention that we're not done with that yet, but we do have some information about those on our website already, which was just launched today, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So why does Clean do this? It can be really, you can find a lot of teaching resources for climate on the internet, if you just search through Google for lesson plans. But as you can see from this example search, you might get like millions of findings from a search like that and not know what is good. And especially with climate information, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So how do you know that these resources aren't full of things that your students shouldn't be looking at? And so CLEAN provides a narrowing down of that. We search through various mechanisms. We have partnerships with developers. We also are on many lists and otherwise just connected into these education networks that allow us to find a lot of good resources that we put through our review process. And so then when you search for something in CLEAN, it's much easier to sort of narrow down from there, as well as know that they're high quality resources. So this is our review process I mentioned. It's very involved. We do a lot of vetting of resources in the early stages of the review process on our team. We do this sort of triage process to get things into review and make sure that they're worth reviewing. And then we have a science or content specialist as well as an education specialist look at each resource. And then if it gets high enough ratings, it gets pushed into our review camp, where we have a group of science and, I should say content and educator specialists look at each resource, discuss it, and make sure it's good for the collection. And then it gets cataloged into the collection. We also do what we call an expert science review for many of our resources when they need that deeper look from somebody who has more expertise in that particular topic. So from that process, we gain a lot of information about each resource, which is really cool. And we put that on our website. So each resource links back to the original developer's webpage, but then you also get a lot of information that we put into our notes on each page. So we have teaching tips, information about the content, information about the pedagogical strategies, how you sort of access and utilize the resource, how you implement it, as well as like related URLs. And just a lot of information about the resource itself, while linking back to that original resource. So you always get back to the main page where that is housed. We also, through this process, have a lot of tags that go on each resource. They're easily searchable through our collection. So, we tag things by grade level and topics and other aspects to help you search through the collection. So on the right is an example of our tagging. You can see the other categories or where you can actually expand and add even more tags. But generally we first filter kind of by resource type, grade level, and then from there you can also utilize tags around next generation science standards and topics. And then we also, as I mentioned, have the literacy principles. We've been adding subject tags, so we're focused on adding resources that are not just science focused the last few years. And so we've added tags for different subjects. We're adding DEI focused tags right now as well, in the process of that. And we also have tags for whether it uses actual scientific data, whether there's regional focuses. And in the pandemic, we added an online readiness tag as well. So if you're teaching virtually, you can know that that's a good resource for that. So that's the first part of CLEAN. The second big pillar of CLEAN is our pedagogic support and classroom readiness guidance. So this is sort of the second section of our website, which you can access either from our top menus or on our homepage here. And in this section, we have background pages that will help you if you're not 100% confident in all the different aspects of teaching about climate, as well as supporting you in different ways. If you're an elementary teacher, if you're dealing with mental health aspects, if you are interested in culturally relevant teaching resources, we have a lot of things in our toolkit, which I'll dive into a little bit more in a minute. First, though, we do have these guidance pages, and this is another slide that needs to get updated, but just couldn't quite in the day that we had since the release. There are new literacy principles, but these we also have pages based on our old literacy principles, and we did just develop new pages as well. They have middle school and high school teaching resources and some other background information, but we haven't quite added elementary and college level and some of our references. So we're still working on those pages, but they are at a point for most teachers who are teaching about climate at that secondary level will still find use in the new pages as well. So this is the example of one of these pages that walks through a literacy principle. You can see it kind of defines the concept and walks you through some of the background information, misconceptions people may have about it, as well as how you bring it in the classroom. And it links to various resources in our collection you can use to teach about the topic. So it really just follows these big ideas and how we understand climate and energy science, and with the new literacy principles even further, not just science, but also just how we address climate change specifically. We also have translated these into Spanish and have a quiz you can use to kind of test yourself or test your students. And for the climate, the original climate literacy principles, we have videos on each of those, which are kind of fun classroom tools as well. In our toolkit, we have a lot of different things to help support you bring climate and energy into your classroom, including curriculum guides. We have 3 different styles of guides you can use to develop units using clean resources. We have newly updated resources for teaching about the National Climate Assessment and relevant resources for each chapter of those. We have a resource for how to handle sort of when climate can be a controversial topic and sort of walking that line with students. And we also have resources that help you address mental health aspects, strategies, as well as classroom activities. And then we also once a month put out a newsletter that connects resources in our collection to sort of current happenings, as well as these webinar series that we do every year. And we aren't having 4 this semester because we're still in some development phase of our webinars, but we are having another special webinar in a couple of weeks, which I'll tell you about at the end of this talk. So the third aspect of CLEAN is our community of practice, the CLEAN Network. And this is where we host calls and discussions around climate education. So if you are somebody who supports educators, you can join our practice and kind of talk about different opportunities and ways you can do that. If you're an educator, you can bring up topics around struggles you're having or questions you have around how to address different climate topics in the classroom, and just a lot of different opportunities for marketing your work, as well as learning about other opportunities going on out there. So the main way we communicate is through an email list. We also have weekly calls where we have people present about different current happenings and work going on in climate education, as well as informal discussions about different things going on. Today, our call was all about the new literacy principles. So yeah, just a really great space to stay engaged in this field. So how do you get involved with CLEAN? There's many different ways. You can use our resources as the biggest thing I'd say that really engages you with CLEAN. If you see a resource out there you don't see in CLEAN, you can always submit one to us. We also love to stay engaged with you through our newsletter, social media, and the network. Please join our network. It's a great space to sort of communicate with CLEAN as well as other folks in this work. If you're familiar with CLEAN, or you just want to become more familiar with CLEAN and support your climate education work even further, you can always be an ambassador for CLEAN. We pay folks to go to regional professional development or conferences and present about CLEAN, but then also support them in their climate teaching as well, and their education practices through hosting once or twice a year meetings and presentations where they can engage and talk with other educators, as well as, again, just through those conferences and professional development, engaging yourself more as well. So, coming up, as I mentioned, we have some other webinars. We will do another regular webinar in our series, sort of generally, how do you address climate and energy topics in your practice in spring semester. And in just 2 weeks, on October 10th, we will have a really exciting special webinar this semester on cultivating hope and resilience in the face of climate change. And then we're also working on developing an asynchronous professional development. First, we're going to have sort of a tutorial on this similar to what I talked about today. And then we're hoping to kind of build it out to more workshops around teaching climate and energy after that. And you can check out our webinars at that link that I put on the slide, but I think Jean has also been hopefully putting some links into the chat. So with that, I will stop talking and ask if anybody has any questions. And that's just a preview, just a general introduction of Clean. Obviously, if you have any specific questions, you can always email us. If you know, I think joining the Clean Network is another great space to engage as well.
And the chat box is free and the Q&A feature is also available as well. I put quite a few links in the chat. Hopefully it wasn't overwhelming, but there are a lot of hopefully very useful resources that we are excited to share with people. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Carolina. Thanks for joining us. All the way from Germany. It's got to be late over there too. Another thing I have, I should mention is that we do have, if any of you are educators and want certification for the time you spend in any of our webinars, including this one, you can reach out to us. We don't provide credit like graduate credit, but we can provide certification for the time, the professional development time. So if you need that, just email us at clean@colorado.edu, which I'll put in the chat. And I don't know, Gina, did you end up putting any of the links to the new literacy principle pages in there?
Closer to the top.
Cool.
Yeah. Yes,
I can just take a minute. Let's see if I can get out of this. Zoom seems to not like me going in and out of presentation mode. Let's see if I can pull up and share just this. I think this is really relevant for today. So if nobody, we can wait and see if anybody has any questions. And in the meantime, I will just share. This is the new climate literacy guide. It's pretty exciting. It just came out today. And this has been almost 2 years in the making. They first developed the literacy principles in 2009. And that actually led to, it spurred the development of Clean. Clean was really in response to this idea of like, they developed these climate literacy principles, and then it was like, well, how do we make sure that people are actually becoming climate literate? And so Clean was funded and has been miraculously sustained over that amount of time to host that collection of resources and professional development to help train and support educators as they work on this. And so I will just show the, this is the new sort of index page for our literacy principle pages. And then let me open up, I haven't opened it yet, or I just don't have it open right now, our teaching climate one. So this is the old ones, and you can see, I think Patrick, who is our education specialist, described this better than I will right now, probably earlier today when I was talking to him about it. But generally speaking, you can see that the old principles are really focused on kind of climate science and sort of that systems thinking, and diving into a little bit more specifics around sort of like how the sun regulates these sort of complex interactions, and then that, affects life on Earth, and then gets into sort of how we understood those things, and then the human activities and consequences. And this was supposed to be a guiding principle that kind of was supposed to overarch all of these other 7 principles. And so instead of kind of having that overarching, now the new ones, they've tried to weave that in. So they have 8 principles now instead of 7, and a guiding principle, and have tried to weave in that idea this of climate action. But I will say that that does kind of live also in the 8th principle. And so they somewhat collapsed the science-based principles into the first sort of 3 to 4 principles, and then added, this is really the newest idea that's in here. The rest of it is very similar, but sort of reorganized. And so the climate justice is a new idea. And then I'd say that they also separated out the sort of mitigation and adaptation, which is pretty cool. So if you have interest, you can dive into the actual PDF of this, which I'm sure Gina already put in chat, but I'm putting in the chat as I'm talking about them, just so you can follow along if you're interested. So that was just something that's kind of relevant today. If you want to dig in more, just thought I'd give you a quick introduction of kind of, where clean comes from and why we're so focused on these literacy principles, because that is really the basis of clean. That's one of the ways we tag resources, one of the ways we've organized our website. So we're kind of revamping and reorganizing everything based on that. So be in a little bit of flux here as we work on that, but I think it'll be really good because these are much more relevant to the updated understanding of climate science, and especially climate change that we have developed over the last 15 years. Cool. Any other thoughts, Gina, that we should share with folks today? Any other questions?
It looks like Carolina just said, it would be interesting to include the info about the conferences like COP for climate change and biodiversity.
Yes.
So yeah, we
The
have.
COP.
Oh, go ahead, Katie.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Gina.
We have some people in our network who are very interested in COP and trying to support the efforts there. And we're really hoping that people become aware of clean and can kind of help spread the word in those communities. And we have some resources about those things as well.
Yeah, I'd say the conversations about COP definitely tend to happen more within the network, the Clean Network. But there are some resources in the collection, even just around like role playing different like world conference, world meeting type events like that, which is kind of cool. And so yeah, there's definitely some relevant stuff in the collection. And then definitely the network is another space where we have a lot of those conversations. We haven't talked as much about the biodiversity one, but it's definitely relevant. I'd say COP comes, we always have some clean call conversations around COP every year though.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the climate action simulation right here.
Speaking of which, I think Gina put in the chat the link to our webinar page. We record all our webinars. We also record all of our network calls. So especially someone like in Germany where it might be hard for you to join sort of midday Eastern US time. You can also check out our, so this is the network, or I think Gina probably already linked the network page. I'm just gonna go straight to the schedule page then. And if you're interested, you can always search through this page or our YouTube channel and try to find any of those clean calls on COPS from last year's. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, critiques, compliments? Well, Jean and I will stay on for a minute if somebody's furiously typing, but otherwise it was so nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us, and we'll hopefully catch you on the next clean webinar.
Thanks, everyone.